Hello everyone, in this video I would like to discuss this new feature function that is the Wheel of Things, launched from TIA Portal version 17 and S7-1500 PLC firmware 2.9. If this is the first time you heard this word, that is no surprise, because this feature just launched in this summer and come together with TIA Portal version 17. Since this is one built-in function from the PLC, the S7-1500 PLC, so this is not well known widely. However, from my personal view, this Wheel of Things that is very helpful. 2 points. Firstly, it can facilitate us during the commissioning, especially before we deploy the official HMI. As we know, some cases, for example, for the motion control, we need to power on, forward, reverse, and monitor the speed and the velocity. Definitely, if we have a HMI or simple HMI wheel, we can monitor our tool or monitor our system much better than without the HMI, right? Second, for some very simple project, you just need a web browser or 1 or 2 pages for HMI wheel. Probably this function can enough for you. This is the Wheel of Things. So what is a Wheel of Things? One simple word to explain this. This is the one built-in web pages function. So we can configure this web page as the regular HMI configuration. And then when we publish this HMI, so we can use IE browser to browse the web page of this HMI page. So we can operate or monitor this HMI page, which is very convenient. If you browse this web page from Siemens, you can check the description on this page. And here, there's one link, application example, create user-defined web page. But frankly speaking, this example doesn't explain too deep. Actually, maybe it can misleading you. So once you click this link, you will jump this page. This page explains the user-defined web page. You can check out this video. Also, you can download a couple examples. However, this application doesn't explain what is Wheel of Things. It just explained the web page function. This web page function comes from one latency web page function built into the Siemens controller for S7-1200 and S7-1500. But it doesn't explain the latest feature, Wheel of Things. Maybe Siemens haven't published or launched a new version for Wheel of Things on this example. In terms of the web page function, if you recall, actually Siemens released the user-defined web page almost 10 years ago, when the first time Siemens launched S7-1200 and S7-1500. That time, this controller can build in the web page, the user-defined web page. However, that time it limited one thing. You have to use the HTML language and JavaScript to program the web page. As the industry engineer or industry technician, program the HTML web page, that's really challenging. Now, from the TIA Portal version 17, they released the Wheel of Things, this feature, and benefit from the WinCC Unified. So Siemens utilized WinCC Unified this function and used the part of this feature built into the S7-1500 PLC. Now it called Wheel of Things. So when we configure the HMI page, actually the method and the wheel is similar as the WinCC Unified, or we can call the HMI configuration wheel. So as an industry engineer, we do not need to learn how to program the HTML or the JavaScript anymore. We just drag the button and drag the bar chart so we can control or wheel or monitor our data. So let me show how can we do that. So in this test, I'm using the actual hardware. I'm using S7-1512, this controller, and the firmware already upgraded to the revision 2.9. Keep in mind, if you need to implement this function in your controller, in your PLC, you must guarantee you upgrade your PLC to 2.9, this firmware, or higher than 2.9. And also, you have to use the TIA Portal version 17, the latest version. Let's double click and create one project. Okay, after we create this project, let's add a new device. I'm using the ET200 CPU. And it named 1512. Actually, it's also a safety controller, SK01. You have to guarantee you are using the latest version 2.9. Okay, click. Alright, once we set up this PLC here, for TIA Portal version 17, This is the one wizard to guide us to set the security setting. For example, for my controller, this is one safety controller, so we can set up the safety password and set up the CPU download password. Also, we can set up the PGPC communication password. There are so many passwords, but for this test purpose, I will temporarily bypass all those passwords. Okay, so I can check it off and just click the next. Okay, and click next, and we will make this a full access. Okay, click next. And usually for the safety controller, if you do have a safety function, we better create a safety password. Okay, and before we set the properties for the CPU, I will create one simple logic, demonstrate you have some existing PLC data and the logic there. So for example, I can go to the program and I can create 1 dB. And now I can click this data block and I can select the data block number. For example, we can start from 101. The name, I can name that dB underscore VoT, Wheel of Things. Alright, after we create this dB, I can declare some tags and some variables here. Okay, in this dB, I declare 2 integers, the 2 rails here. This is the 1 diameter, and this is the circumference, so we can do a very simple math. Once we type in the diameter value, we can calculate the circumference value. And this start push button and the stop push button can be used to control this motor control board. And in the actual case, this motor control board can connect to an output Q channel, so we can start up or stop the motor, right? Then let's go to the main, and I can create a very simple logic there. Okay, so for example, to control the motor, I can start from the network 2, and I can name that motor control. So I can use the simple logic, and then I can fill the variable name. So I can click this dB here, and they can pop up here, detail wheel here, and then I can drag the tag, startup button, stop button, and the motor control board. And here, it latch in itself. Okay, this is very simple motor control logic. Start latch in itself, and when we hit this stop, it can turn off this motor control board. Okay, this is the motor control logic. And then this is the calculation for circle. So we can use the mass multiply, and we can use the diameter time pi equal to circumference of the circle. Okay, its type is real. Okay, this demonstrates you have some existing value or existing logic, and then from this wheel of things, this web page based HMI, we need to show or we need to control this motor control, use button. And also for this circumference, once we type in the diameter value on the HMI, we can show the circumference of that circle. Then let's turn to our menu, the wheel of things setting. So it relies on some setting within the properties of this CPU, version 2.9. Okay, let's double click this CPU. So firstly, let's set up the IP address of this controller. Click this Ethernet port, and we can initiate this subnet. And now I can type in, set the IP address for this PLC. So I will set 1.110. This is the IP address of this CPU. Once I download, I can load this configuration into this controller. Okay, set the IP address, and then double click this CPU properties area. And let's drop down. Go to web server, this area. So this checkbox, that is very important. Basically, this is the main checkbox to initiate, to activate web page function. Let's activate that. So activating the web server, reducing the production. Okay, and here permit access only with HTTPS. I will recommend check on this. So we will only browse this controller using HTTPS. Okay, and here this is very important, user management. We will type in the user and the password a couple times. This is very important to set the user level, access level, and the password. Firstly, I will set admin. Okay, and from this access level, for the admin, we can check on everything. So we can look at everything from the web page. Those are the functions can be shown on the web page when we type in the IP address of this CPU, browse the web page view for this controller. Okay. And password, we can use admin. And then we can create one user count. So we can call that user. And from this user access level, we only initiate this. So tag access, read tag, write tag. So we can take off this write tag. And also here, the user defined web page. This also need to activate that. Okay, and then we can turn off this write tag via the automation web page. So for the user, we only allow them to view this web page. Okay, also turn off this. Only turn on the open user defined web page. Only assign them the view, the access level. Okay, the password we can type in user and the user. Okay. So we active here and configure the user management. Okay. And then here I would like to explain that before the view of things, this feature, the Siemens controller has this built-in web page style named user-defined page. This area, this feature has been launched almost 10 years ago. So from the very beginning, the 1500 PLC and the 1200 PLC, they support web page. But that time you have to use HTML file. And here, generate the block and call this block. That takes a very huge load memory for the controller. And it's not very convenient. After all, you need to use HTML, the program language, to program the web page. But now we have the view of things. So where we can configure the view of things. So then we can go to here. At the TI Portal version 17, with the hardware S7-1500 PLC version 2.9 at least. From here, you will find there's one new folder here, named Web Applications. Here, I would like to mention if your project upgrade from version 16 to version 17, even if you change your controller from a lower version to 2.9, by that time, maybe at that short moment, this web application can now show up. You just need to close this project and reopen the TI Portal version 17. Then you will find the web page application show up. If you still cannot show up, you double check if this controller firmware. So go to the general and check out if this offline configuration is still the version 2.9. Maybe accidentally you picked the wrong firmware version, so it cannot show the web page application here. And then we need to configure the web page. Go to the web page application. Let's enjoy this. So we only use the engineering way to configure the HMI web page. Okay, after we click this add new, it will show this view of things, WinCC unified view of thing. This is the one built-in HMI function in the CPU. Okay, let's browse these screens. Let's create a new screen. And in this test, I will create a couple buttons. And also, I will create one view, the I/O field. This is so common elements usually for the HMI. We need a button, we need an I/O field. Also, we can show some color difference or show the data bar. If you recall from the logic, we can use the start or stop to control the motor, right? So I will drag two buttons here. See, from this view of things, this HMI, we do not need to program the HTML. We just need to drag the button. This is so similar as the regular Siemens HMI, like the TI Portal WinCC Comfort or WinCC Unify. Okay, we can name this button, find the properties of this button here, the text, and we can name that motor start push button. And this right side button, this is the motor stop push button. Then the button, we need to connect the variable. How to connect the variable? Now that's very simple. So firstly, let's click this DB. And then we can see this detail view. It can show up the variable inside this DB. And then we need to connect the variable from the PLC to this button. So we will configure the event of this button. This is similar as the regular HMI configuration. Let's go to the event of this button. From this press and the release, we will set on that this start push button. And once we release, we will turn off that start push button. We will give a trigger on this start push button, this variable. Okay, so on the press this event, we can see browse the tag and browse the set tag value. Set tag value. And from this job list, so we can browse the variable from PLC side, db underscore variable. And we can click this start push button. Click OK. Okay, so once we press this button, we can set 1. And once we release this button, we will set that variable, same variable to 0. So same thing, we can set tag value. And the same thing, we can click this dot and select this start button, start push button. And we will set 0, okay? And for the motor stop push button, we will control this stop push button here. So same thing, press, we will write on. We will write on for this stop push button. Okay, write 1. And when release this push button, we will set 0. Set tag value. Stop. Set 0. Okay? And then we can show the status of that motor. And then we can drag one circle here. Circle. Okay? And we need to connect one variable. The variable can control the color of this circle. So we can use the properties of this circle and find out the background color here. So right side none shows there's nothing dynamic connection on those properties. And if we need to use the variable to connect this background color, we can select the tag. Also, you can use the script. Okay? And in this case, I will use the tag. We can go right side. I will make it wider here. To change the background color, we can pick the motor control, this bool. Means if this variable 1 or on, we will show green. If it's off, we will show red. Okay. Connect this motor control and select this a single bit. Okay. When it's equal to 0, we will show the red. When it's equal to 1, we will show green. Okay. If you need a flash function, so you can turn on this flash. Okay. So we can use this variable to control the background color of this circle. Okay, this is the motor push button and the color, the indicator. And then that's also important. This is this I/O field. And for the I/O field, we will allow the manager, the admin, to type in the diameter, and then the PLC will calculate the circumference and display at here. So we need to type in the diameter. Here, this is a very convenient function. To show the data, we can drag this diameter. This is the real value. Drag to here. Then we can see under the properties of this I/O field. And here, the tag, it automatically connects this process value here. Okay? And from the right side, we can check what the actual variable. It automatically connects to here. Okay? And then we can drag this circumference. Okay. And because this is circumference, it calculates from the PLC. It only the display. So from the mode of this I/O field, we can select the out only. It doesn't allow the user to type in the value, right? This area is used to type in, and this is just used for display. And here we can type in the static test here. Okay, double click here, we can change this test. We can name that diameter, okay? And the right side here, this is a circumference display, okay? And this is the one screen. And what's the resolution of this screen? So when we click this empty area, the properties can show up for this screen 1, okay? This screen 1. And this is the height, and this is the width. So you can set a smaller that can fit for the mobile phone browsing, okay? And also for this stretch, background, graphics, so we can set the stretch to fit or fill or titled, okay? And let's create a second screen, okay? So usually one screen that's not enough. We need a couple screens. So according to the Siemens presentation, so far the wheel of things here, we can create 10 screens here. And the variable that between this wheel of things and the PLC tag, we can drag and connect within 100 variables. Usually we will use this built-in web page to facilitate our online commissioning, or very simple HMI task. So the 10 pages, that's enough. And now we can create something as this screen 2. Double click this screen 2. Here we can drag the integer value. So we can turn on this DB, and we can drag this integer 1 and integer 2. Okay, we can drag the integer 1. Drag 1, that's enough. And then we can drag one bar here. For example, I can drag this bar. For example, if you have one tank here, we can show the tank, or you can use this meter style at here. Okay? So to test the purpose, I only drag this bar. Okay? That's enough. And how can we connect the variable to this bar? Manually, we can click this bar and go to the process value area, and we can connect a variable. Also now it's very simple. We can drag this integer 1, this variable from the PLC DB, and drag on the top of this element till you see the icon showing like this. You see the difference? And drop it. And then this component automatically connect to this variable. So we can go down. And from here, we can find out it shows tag here. We can see the process value from the right side. It automatically connects to this integer 1. Okay? Alright, so this is our second screen. And then we need to browse, and allows us to switch to the different screen. So from this screen 2 here, we can drag the screen 1. We just drag this screen 1 here. So it automatically creates this button. So within this button, from the event, we can find when we release this button, it called change screen this event, and it can allows us to jump to the screen 1. And from the screen 1, double click the screen 1, we can drag this screen 2, allows us to jump to the screen 2. Okay, so that's done. We finished this simple wheel of things, this small HMI function. And then let's click this save project. And now I'm going to compile and download. Compile, firstly, I recommend you compile this entire project. Alright, we finished the compile. And then, personally, I recommend you manually go here and compile your wheel of things, this sub-project here, this sub-folder. And go right side, click this software, rebuild all, to guarantee the system generate this HMI configuration behind. And then we can download this project. Okay, let's download this PLC. Okay, let me download this controller. Okay, this is a new feature from version 17. It asks us, this is no trustworthy device. We click this consider as a trusted controller. Okay, and click load. So then the system will show this load wheel. And here, this is very important. When it show up this load preview, I will drag this. So firstly, because I need to download this controller, so we need to stop all. Okay, no big issue. But now here, to download this web page application, we need to browse here, expand here, and check on this update. Some people, when they first time tested this function, they will forget this. So you download maybe a couple times, you can still find the web application still not workable. That's because most of cases you forget turn on this because this is hidden there. Okay, check on this. So we specially download with this web application. Click this download. All right, let's start up this PLC. Okay, we start up the controller. And now let me use the IE browser. And if you recall the IP address of this CPU, that is the 1.110. I will type in this IP address. Okay, from this address here, I will use HTTPS. Type in the IP address of this controller. Okay, hit enter. It will show up like this. You click this advanced and click this continue to this PLC address. And then it will jump to the main page of this controller. And let's check on this, skip this introduction. Okay, let's click enter. Then we can browse web page of this PLC. And default, it will only show the current status of this controller. And this controller, because I haven't configured other module, I just configured this core CPU, so the system shows error, which doesn't matter. Okay, and I especially want to show using this web page, we can check the diagnostic of this message within this PLC. Okay, and then we can log in. Firstly, let me try logging in using the admin. Admin. Okay, click this login. And then we can see, because admin, we have all the access levels, so it can show up everything after we log in. And then we can see here, user defined pages. And once we click here, it show up the home page of this application, Wheel of Things. Click. Then it can jump to this Wheel of Things. This is the Wheel of Things, the main page. You can copy paste of this main address. So this is actually the main page of the Wheel of Things. This is the main page of the small HMI within this S7-1500 PLC. And here we can type in the same thing, admin. Okay, log in. All right, so we see this small web page. We can see the resolution. This is the same resolution I set. And now I can turn on this motor. It turn on. If I click this button, it can turn red. Okay, if I type in the value, for example, if I type in 100, so it calculate 314 here. Diameter calculate to the circumference here. And then we can jump to the screen 2. And at here, I can type in the value to demonstrate, for example, if this is one furnace temperature or the water level. So it can show up using this bar, and we can type in the value. Or we can control the properties of this I/O field to control that as the wheel only. Okay, so jump back. So this is a very common function, button, indicator, I/O field, show display. We can see here I can type in the data. This I set the wheel only, so it doesn't allow us to type in the value. Most of the cases, for display the value, you can set the I/O field properties to out, to wheel only. Some place allows us to type in the value. We can use in and out from the properties. The button properties at here, the mode. Okay, and then I can log in using the user. I'm gonna log out, and this time I will use the user. Okay, if you recall from the user access level, I only assign wheel only. So we can see the user, this account, can only browse the start page, tag status, and watch table. It's wheel only. And then if we go to the user defined page, okay, let's log in user. If you type in the value, I set 200, it won't accept this 200, this value here. Okay, if I click this button, it cannot turn on the motor. Okay, go to the screen 2. For here, if I type in right to 60, we can see the system will not accept the type-in value because the current user doesn't have that value right, that permission. Okay, if we quickly recall, go to the CPU properties, and if we quickly recall at this web server, we check on this, right? The user from this access level here, we only assign the read tag and only assign the open user-defined web page. This is very useful. For the engineering level or maintenance level, we can use admin this user. And for the normal user, just for browse, for view only, we can assign a user, just assign those properties. Okay, and now I will use my mobile phone to browse this web page. And in this test, this is my controller, and this port connect to my laptop. And this port, I'm using this Ethernet cable connect to the access point here. And I'm using my mobile phone connect to the access point using the wireless, and I can browse access this controller. And this is a very common case when we set up the wireless access to browse the controller. And now I can use my mobile phone and I can type in, use IE browser, type in the HTTPS 192.168.1.110. Okay, the same thing. If this is the first time, it will show up like this. Then we can click this advanced. Press this, proceed to this IP address and save. We can click the enter the web page of this PLC. And we can see, we can check on, monitor the status of this CPU. And from the left corner, we can log in. So I can log in the username. Let's firstly log in as administrator, admin. All right, after I log in as the admin, we can see here. So we can see all the items, the same showing on the web page on the laptop, right? Then we can click this user defined. Same thing, it show up this link. It will jump to the view of things, that main page. Actually, you can click that favor at this web page for the WinCC unified view of things. And from here, we can type in the username and the password. I will type in the admin. Alright, so we can see, since the resolution we set very high, so the entire thing is at this corner. But because of a mobile phone, we can enlarge that. So we can use 2 fingers to enlarge this area. And we can control the size on our mobile phone. And at here, we can turn on the motor and turn off the motor. Also, we can type in the data. This time, let's type in 200. Then we can see 628, it calculate. And let's go to the second page. So from here, we can also write the data, 48. So we can see, we write the data successfully. So this is a built-in web page. You can imagine, we can use this web page built-in function. We can add the button or the data display. That is very convenient for us to commissioning at the very beginning of the project. Also, for some simple case, you can use the IE page to create one very simple HMI style. So basically, you just need one tablet. So the very simple Android system, that's enough. My mobile phone, that's the Android system. I can use the Chrome and IE browser to browse the web page of this system. And also I can control that. Okay. And also the benefit of this web page from this controller, we can go back to the controller page. So go back to the controller page and we can go to the diagnostic buffer. So we can see this is the login, this history event. Also it can show what's going on of my system. And when I download. Alright, this is the way of things. Let's do a very brief summary. So from my personal view, this is really great function. I will use this web page, this built-in function, to help me to do some online commissioning. For example, especially while I'm doing the motion control, I can grab the buttons to show the power on, power off, and velocity and the positioning value using one very simple components. That's enough for me as a very simple HMI wheel. So you can use the Android system or the Apple OS system to browse this web page using the IE browser, which is very convenient. So some points I would like to summarize here. So firstly, do we need the license to do this? So yes, you do need a license, but this license, that is a WinCC Unified Comfort ES license. Basically, if you are developing the HMI system, so basically you will have this license already. So you can directly use this feature. And second, so keep in mind, you have to use the TIA Portal version 17. And the hardware, firmware, that's the 2.9, the hardware. And third, regarding the performance, so the entire screens you can configure, that's the 10 screens. And the HMI tag here, you can configure within 100 tags. So there's one forum web page I highly recommend you can browse. And also there's one example sample project there. If you go to Siemens Forum and if you search VoT, Wheel of Things, and then you will find this a simple sample for WinCC Unified VoT. And from this page, you will find under here, you can download this sample example. And also it shows tips and this configuration step here. I highly recommend you read the detail here. And the last thing I would like to mention, once we configure this HMI, so definitely it will cost our load memory size. If we go back to this project, and now if I go to the program info, so from here, from this load memory, we can see after I configure these two screens, so the system will show the used load memory. Regarding S7-1500 PLC, the load memory, that is SMC load memory, the memory card. So you need to take care of the memory card size you are selecting and you are using. So here we can see it takes almost 150K bytes already. So keep in mind, the bigger screens and the more components in the screen, it will cost the higher size for our load memory. Alright, this is the Wheel of Things. I highly recommend if you have a chance, you can try this. And for the license issue, you can ask your local Siemens representative. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumb up. If you like to watch more videos in my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching.